Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome to another MAMJ Let's Play of 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. When we left off, we met everybody on the boat and we've already had a death, which is quite insane. And now we were supposed to pick which of these characters we wanted to team up with in order to get through the 5 door. So, out of these potential people, I'm actually going to pick Santa and June because June is our childhood friend. And so Santa seems pretty reliable. Ace and Lotus, Ace seems pretty cool. Lotus is very on edge. Snake and Seven, nothing against them, but I want to stay with June for as long as I can and see what happens from there. So let's go ahead and pick her. Santa and June. You think you could give me a hand here? The pun was a little too on the nose, but the mood was still grim. Both Santa and June lifted their left hands silently. He verified, and she followed suit. Alright, so there you go. It goes down to 5. They'd fulfilled the conditions. If they were to pull the lever on the side... Are you guys ready? Oh, here we go. I'm gonna open it. Junpei grabbed the lever and looked back over his shoulder. They stiffened and nodded. Junpei nodded back and set his mouth in a grim line. Then he slowly lowered the lever. What do you guys think is going to be on the other side after everything we heard? There was a metallic groan and the door slid open. A breath of air drifted out of it, carrying a stench that nearly made them gag. Junpei grimaced and put a hand over his mouth. Oh my god. Good god. Lotus and Ace shuddered. Seven grunted. Whoa, that's pretty bad. Even Santa's voice shook. He blew up. It appeared that Santa was right. The hallway on the other side of the door was splattered with chunks of torn flesh and dark red blood. I'm not even gonna scream right now. The shriek echoed across the room. It had come from June. Then, her strength left her and she dropped. As Junpei turned to catch her, the door groaned shut. She crumpled to the floor. June, you okay? Junpei dropped to his knees and put his arm around her shoulders. That was when he noticed. Her whole body was feverish. She was radiating intense heat. What the hell? Where'd this fever come from? June didn't answer. Her face looked like wax and her whole body began to shake. Alright, let's just rest for a minute, okay? You think you can walk? She nodded weakly. Junpei lifted June to her feet, and he guided her to a nearby chair. Here we go. As gently as he could, he set her down in it. How are you feeling? Are you alright? She nodded, and as she did, a single huge tear rolled down the side of her face. Why did this happen? Her voice cracked, broken by misery and grief and choked by sobs. Why did this happen? Junpei spun around. Do any of you know what is going on here? Who's Zero? What's this nonary game? Come on, anybody. Anything. What the hell is going on? What are we doing here? No one spoke. Ace, Snake, Santa, Clover, Seven, and Lotus. They simply stood there. 7 pairs of downcast eyes and 7 grim lines of mouths. June's body shook with silent sobs. They slowed as the minutes ticked by, and eventually they stopped. Then suddenly, in the cold, heavy silence that had enveloped them like a thick fog, a bell began to ring. The clock in the central hall. 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And then, on the 10th ring, it stopped. The sound of the bell faded away into silence. It's 10 o'clock then. Ace said what each of them had been thinking. It means it's been an hour since Zero's literal announcement. Seven's deep voice echoed across the room. I've had enough of this crap. Santa leapt to his feet, his fists clenched. How long are you gonna pussyfoot around like this? We've only got 8 hours until this time limit Zero was talking about is up. Let's get going already. Go. Go! Santa's outbursts fell on deaf ears. No one seemed to agree with him. They stared back at him, their eyes blank and their faces tired. Finally, Lotus spoke. No, I refuse. I'm not gonna end up like him. Him? You mean the ninth man? Of course. Who else? In his mind's eye, Junpei saw the corpse again. The dark, reddish-black pool of blood. The scattered pieces of flesh. Organs strewn across the floor like the blossoming of a grotesque flower. The explosion that had torn through his body had been powerful. The ninth man's neck had been twisted at an odd angle. Junpei suspected the detonation had thrown him against the wall. Half of his face was crushed, and the other half was covered in blood. Most of his abdomen had been emptied, either by the explosion or by gravity. He had landed on his back, and stark white ribs jutted up out of his chest, like the legs of some sort of macabre crab. Junpei felt something flip in his stomach. I think he just screwed up. Eyebrows went up, and Santa continued. He probably set off some sort of trap and that killed him. I'm not gonna screw up like that. I'm getting out of here, alive. Whatever Snake was laughing at, Santa did not find particularly humorous. What's so funny? Oh, my apologies. You were just so very confident. I couldn't help myself. What? I think you've mistaken the situation. Huh? The ninth man's death. It had nothing to do with the trap, or at least, not the sort of trap you imagined it did. Then, he broke one of Zero's rules. That was why he died. Quite simple, if you think about it. You still don't? Alright. How about you take a moment and think back to what Zero said? Specifically, what did he say about the number of people? He said only 3 to 5 people can pass through the one numbered door, right? And after that? You've forgotten the relevant part. What does Zero say? Santa furrowed his brow in thought. Junpei thought back. Zero said, everyone who is verified had to go? All those who enter must leave, and all who enter must contribute, right? I think it was something like that. Whatever it was, it means that groups of less than 3 or 5, or more than 5 can't go. That is correct. A gold star for you, Junpei. Snake inclined his head toward Junpei. The ninth man, however, broke that rule. He tried to pass through a numbered door by himself. That was why he was executed. Then Zero's watching us from somewhere, making sure we don't break any rules. Oh, I'm not so sure about that. Why not? Because this execution system is entirely automatic. You didn't notice? There's no need for him to monitor us. What do you mean? Snake looked at Seven with what could only be described as pity and sighed. Very well. I see, it must be me who tells you. I have waited long enough, I suppose. I'd hoped Zero might spare me the trouble, but that seems increasingly unlikely. He couldn't see them, of course, but perhaps Snake sensed the confused eyes upon him. When Ace spoke, he gave words to everyone else's thoughts. Do you know something? Well, I know a great many things, but yes. What is it you know? Here. Snake removed the card from the pocket of his jacket. With a flourish, he presented it to Ace, who took a close look at it and spoke. Come on now, what's the point of giving me this? Give me that. Santa snatched the card from Ace, but his expression of disgust quickly turned to one of confusion. Huh? The hell is this? Seven tugged it out of Santa's hands. I see. The card went from Seven to Lotus, from Lotus to June, and finally to Junpei. He looked at it and understood. This is Braille. Braille, written in the language of the blind. The card was covered with small, embossed bumps. Junpei could recognize it, but he certainly couldn't read it. Sorry guys, I can't read this. Junpei handed the card back to Snake, who nodded at him with a small smirk. Okay, that was fun. What's so important about that card? I found it in my pocket. I can only assume it's a message from Zero. From Zero? A message? What does it say? Suddenly, everyone was crowding around Snake, desperate to hear what the message said. Santa especially looked as if he were about to grab hold of Snake and shake the answers from him. Snake raised his hand. Calm down now. Oh, I clicked out. No need to panic. You don't need to force me. I'll read it. Junpei swallowed hard and waited for him to start. He was not the only one. Presently, Snake began to read, his voice calm. His fingers glided over the tiny bumps as he spoke. Bracelet number 2. Since you are not blessed with sight, I shall bless you, and only you, with information. I shall tell you the sort of function of the red, of the dead, and of the bracelet. The red is the recognition device. It will verify your number. Beside every numbered door, you will find a red. The dead is the deactivation device. It does exactly what it says. Once you have passed through the numbered door, you must use the dead to stop the detonator in your bracelet. Or perhaps you are wondering, what does this detonator detonate? I'm afraid this may be something of a surprise. I have placed a small bomb inside of you, and the people whom you are about to meet. You swallowed it while you were unconscious. I have no doubt by the time you read this, the bomb will have passed your stomach and found its way into your small intestine. In other words, you will be unable to regurgitate it. I suggest you do not try. As I mentioned before, the bracelet on your left hand contains a detonator. Think of it as a remote fuse, or timer, for the bomb in your body. There is only one condition which will cause it to detonate. That condition is that you enter the numbered door. Once you have done so, the timer will activate, no matter who you may be. You will have 81 seconds. If, after that time, the detonator has not been deactivated, it will send a signal to the bomb in your body, instructing it to explode. In order to deactivate the detonator, every person who verified their number at the red must also verify their numbers at the dead. Once all the numbers have been verified by the dead, you only pull the lever at its side and the countdown will cease. Anyone who does not verify their number at the red will find themselves unable to verify their number at the dead. That is to say, if you should pass through a numbered door without first verifying your number at the red, in 81 seconds, you will be dead. You must also keep in mind that the numbered doors will close automatically after 9 seconds have passed. So long as the door is open, the dead will not function. You would do well to remember this. Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only 2 ways to do so. 1. You escape from the ship. 2. Your heart rate reaches 0. In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, or detects that its wearer's heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically. There is no other way to remove your bracelet. If you attempt to force it off, or disable the detonator, the bomb within you will immediately explode. This is all the information which I can impart to you. How you choose to use it is for you to decide. If used wisely, you can eliminate those who might be a danger to you. For a time, you would be able to control your fate. I wish you the best of luck. Snake finished reading and carefully returned the card to his pocket. The message has been lengthy, but its meaning was clear. If only those who verified their numbers at the red could pass through the numbered doors, teams could not increase or decrease their numbers. The reds, deads, and bracelets enforced the rules. They were the judge, jury, and executioner. In defiance of Zero's suggestions, both Santa and Seven put fingers on their throats and began to gag. The rest stiffened. Some touched their stomachs. Some simply stared at their bracelets. Junpei gingerly touched his stomach. There was a bomb inside his body. The thought of it made him queasy. His stomach felt oddly hollow, and his legs were weak. Why had Zero designed such a ludicrous game? Junpei looked over at the others. Alright, I'm gonna ask one more time. Do any of you know anything about Zero? They were all silent, each person waiting to hear what the others would say. Finally, Santa spoke. Actually, I saw him. I saw Zero when I got grabbed. I didn't see his face, though. He was wearing some kind of gas mask. What the hell? Come on, guys, give me something. You know, like surprise or something? Instead, it was Santa who looked surprised. There was a moment of silence, and then everyone spoke at once. Yeah, I saw him too. Me too. He was wearing a gas mask. As stories were sorted out, the truth became clear. All of their stories were the same. They had been abducted at home, at midnight. The person claiming to be Zero had worn a mask. There had been white smoke, and then each person had passed out. When they awoke, they had found themselves on D-Deck, in a room with a 3-level bunk bed. Only 7 stories seemed to lack the detail of the others. Oh, me? Yeah, well, mine was just like the rest of yours. That was all he had said. It occurred to Junpei at the time that it sounded somewhat strange, but he didn't press the issue. He hadn't done so, because there was something that struck him as even stranger. That was the mystery of the relationship between Snake and Clover. For some reason, they had been abducted from the same room, and woke up in the same room. Junpei looked at them, thoughtfully. So, what's the deal with the two of you anyway? It was Clover that answered. Clearly, she felt she had nothing to hide. We're siblings. Siblings? Yes? Snake is my older brother. Obviously, that means I'm his little sister. That really so hard to understand? Junpei was taken aback. The others seemed just as surprised. She is correct, of course. He laid his hand on Clover's shoulder. Are you surprised? Well, yeah, but... Why? There are other people here with connections to one another. Those two, for instance. Snake pointed at Junpei and June. Oh, you mean between Jumpy and me? Ah, yes. You did say you were childhood friends, didn't you? You went to school together? Yeah. June glanced at Junpei, uncomfortable with the sudden attention. Junpei felt somewhat nervous as well, and tried to scratch his head as casually as possible. Hey, you think maybe we could figure out who this Zero is anyway? Yeah, you're right. You connect the dots between the victims, and that leads you to the perp. Textbook stuff. Junpei, June, does any of this ring a bell? Ring a bell? Ring a bell? They looked at one another. And like it was staged, they both tilted their neck at the same time. Well, perhaps you went to school with the son of a multimillionaire. A millionaire? Son? Well, someone bought this boat and set up all of this. Whoever Zero is, they must be incredibly rich. Well, we can't be sure of that. To me, this seems as though it's the work of an organization, not an individual. Zero is most likely simply the representative of a larger group. What sort of organization? It could be a number of things. An army, perhaps, or a research group. Perhaps this is all some sort of psychological experiment. If it is, that's a pretty effed up experiment. I mean, come on, the guy is dead. The word dead hung in the air, heavy and ominous. The room went quiet again. I don't know who the hell this Zero is, but I know for sure he's got to be pretty effed up in the head to do all this. If this was all one guy, then he's got some serious issues. Even with the specter of death hanging over them, their discussions continued for some time. In the end, however, they learned nothing. By the time they finished, 1.5 of their 9 hours were gone. All they had to show for it was impatience. Man, look, we only got 7.5 hours left, okay? You really sure you want to just sit around? No one was willing to argue this time. Very well then. There's only one way for us to proceed. Sure not gonna be fun running around knowing we gotta jump when Zero says to. Oh, jump. Yeah, that too. Well, it's stupid to just sit around here doing nothing. Thanks to Snake's card, at least we have some idea of how this all works. Correct. And so long as we follow the rules, we will most likely be alright. But what? Who's gonna go in which door? June looked toward the numbered doors. Oh yeah, that's right. We can't have any more than 5 people in one door. All 8 of us can't go in the same door. Then it would seem we have to split up. Wait! Lotus looked terrified. I'm telling you now, there's no way in hell I'm going through door 5. Come now, don't be selfish. Call me whatever the hell you want, I'm not going in there. If I'm gonna have to walk through all that blood, then I'd rather stay here. And we were doing so well. Ace shook his head sadly. Sorry, but I ain't going in there either. Someone else can go through door 5. Oh, Santa, not you too. Hey man, I just bought these shoes. If you think I'm getting some creepy dude's blood all over them, you got another think coming. Awesome. That was the last straw. What the hell, man? Weren't you the one who kept saying we should get going? Yeah? So? Doesn't mean I wanted to go through door 5. Oh god. There was an awkward silence. Finally, Seven spoke. Fine. I'll go into door 5. I can't go in there alone though. Anyone else willing to come with me? There was another long silence. This time, Snake was the one to break it. I'll go. What? Don't worry, you'll be fine. We may part now, but I'm certain we'll meet again later. How do you know that? Because I do. That's not an answer. If you're going, I'm going too. I'm going into door 5. What am I gonna do with you? There's nothing you have to do. Ace stepped forward. If I join you, the problem's solved, correct? 7 is 7, Snake is 2. And if you add Clover's 4 and my 1, the digital root will be 5. It works perfectly! The 4 of us can go into door 5. Wait, what about the other 4? What's their digital root gonna be? Junpei did a quick mental calculation. Lotus, Santa, June, and Junpei remained. Their bracelet numbers were 8, 3, 6, and 5. What would their digital root be? Oh god, really? Let's see. You got 11, 17... What? 2, so 4? Yeah, 4. I don't know why it took me so long to do that. I'm a big dumb, I got put on the spot. Okay. He repeated what he'd determined. It's 4. Add up our 4 bracelets and the digital root is 4. Then we can go into door 4. Yeah. Huh. That worked out well. Junpei ran over the team assignments in his head one more time. 4 people would go into door 5. 7, Snake, Clover, and Ace. 4 people would go into door 4. Lotus, Santa, June, and Junpei. Junpei had to ask himself if the teams were what he really wanted. Beyond door 5 was what remained of the 9th man. He never wanted to see that thing again. But something in him said it would be unwise not to examine a corpse even closer. Of course, if he went through door 5, then he wouldn't be going with Lotus and Santa. True, it would be possible for him to bring June through door 5, but that would mean she would have to see the horrific carnage that waited there. Junpei didn't want that. Junpei was torn. Should he stay silent and go through door 4? Or should he stop them all and insist on door 5? As he turned his opinions over and over in his mind, Ace spoke up. Alright then, it seems we've reached a conclusion. Shall we go? He began to walk toward door 5. Clover and Snake followed, with 7 a short distance behind. Junpei, which door do you want to go through? Oh god. I feel bad for June. I do. I feel really bad for her, but there may be something that we can see if we go through door 5. Let's do it. Let's go through door 5. That's my choice. That's my decision. Hey, wait! Junpei's cry echoed across the room. The 4 people walking toward the door stopped and turned back towards him. I want to go through door 5 too. The words were scarcely out of his mouth when June spoke up. What? What are you saying, Jumpy? If you're gonna go through that door, then I'm going with you. He turned around to look at her. No, you can't. I can't take you with me. Why? Well, you know what's in there, don't you? Are you sure you want to see that? June opened her mouth as if to say something, but instead closed it again and looked at the floor. Junpei felt an ache in his chest at her clear distress, but the choice was not his to make. There was nothing else he could do. Junpei turned away from June, doing his best to silence his turbulent emotions. Please, let me go into door 5. 7 scratched his head and looked at the young man. Man, now we're right back where we started. You know that? Junpei's bracelet number is 5, right? If we are going to add Junpei, then we must subtract 5 from the rest of us. Snake turned to Ace. Ace, please take good care of Clover. Oh, alright. That's fine. Don't go away! You need to listen to me, Clover. Go to door 4 with the others. No! Don't be so selfish. Snake's tone was harsh. Tears welled up in Clover's eyes. She bit her lip and did her best not to fight them off. Snake's expression softened, and he put his arms around Clover. He held her close and whispered into her ear. You'll be fine. Just relax. It looked as though he whispered 2 or 3 more words, but whatever they were, Junpei didn't hear them. He couldn't help but wonder what the other man had said. Snake pulled back from his sister, his eyes kind and inquiring. Okay, I understand. Her voice was barely audible from where Junpei stood. Before long, the new teams were assembled. Those going to door 5, 7, Snake, and Junpei. Those going to door 4, Lotus, Santa, June, Ace, and Clover. It works out nicely. 7, Snake, and Junpei scanned their numbered bracelets in quick succession. The screen of the red showed the 3 asterisks. Alright then, let's go. Junpei glanced around one more time, his hands resting on the lever of the red. Okay, please be careful. Concern was written plainly across her face. Junpei looked in her eye and gave her what he had hoped was a reassuring nod. He pulled the lever. With the sharp clack of the lock releasing, the door swung open. Ahead of them, in the small hallway, were the pitiful remains of the ninth man. For a moment, Junpei froze. Try as he might, his eyes would not leave the corpse, and his feet would not leave the floor. Seven, too, seemed paralyzed. Snake, on the other hand, seemed unconcerned. He walked calmly down the bloody hallway, and only stopped when he realized his companions were not following. Do you intend to kill me? I assume you haven't forgotten the door only remains open for 9 seconds, have you? He hadn't even bothered to turn around. His head was, at most, slightly cocked over one shoulder. Junpei and Seven looked at one another, nodded, and threw themselves through the door. As they did, a cold tone sounded from the left wrist of all three men. Seven and Junpei looked down at their bracelets. On both of them, and on Snake's, a red skull had flickered to life. The detonator had begun its countdown. They had scarcely processed this information when... With a metallic slam, the numbered door behind them swung shut. Unless they could find the device that would deactivate the detonators on their wrists, they would not be leaving the hallway. Hey, where's the dead? The fear and urgency in Seven's face reflected what all three of them felt. Junpei spun around, searching desperately for the dead. He found it easily enough. It was on the wall, next to the closed door labeled 5. Found it! Right here! As he yelled, he struck the scanner with his hand. The other two scrambled to follow suit. As soon as they finished, Snake threw the lever down. Whew, we're good. Phew. Well, it looks like it stopped. As he spoke, Junpei wiped the sweat from his forehead with a trembling hand. I think it's gonna give me a heart attack. A muscle stood out in Seven's neck, and the corners of his mouth were twitching. Jumpy, are you alright? Are you guys okay? They could hear anxious voices, muffled but distinct, from the other side of the door. Yeah, we're fine. The detonators have been deactivated. They heard relieved sighs, and even through the door, the three men could feel the tension disperse. Alright, we're moving on. Be careful, okay? Okay. Sure. Sure thing. Alright. Whew. They heard footsteps moving away, and before long, they were alone again. Junpei looked around. The hallway hit a dead end 20 or 30 feet from where they stood. A thick iron wall blocked their way. Try as they might to force it, the wall refused to move. To the left, however, was a wooden door that looked positively inviting by comparison. In the middle of it was a plaque that read First Class. A first-class cabin, huh? Well, it seems like it. Let's have a look then, shall we? Without hesitation, Snake opened the door and stepped inside. Seven followed closely behind him. Junpei moved to follow them as well, but... He stopped, just short of the threshold, and looked back, not knowing why. Lying in the small hallway was a man's body, or at least what was left of it. He tried hard to avoid looking at the grisly scene, but it just wouldn't leave his mind. What had once been a man's internal organs now looked so much like vomit, as though something had chewed up and spit out the better part of his torso. It was hideous, but worse still, it was cruel. It was hard to believe the thing on the floor had once been human. The black pool of thick blood, the lumps of glistening flesh spread across the floor, the awkward, twisted tangle of shredded intestines, the head wrenched to some grotesque, unnatural position. The man's glasses lay next to his head. The lenses were cracked and the frame bent and distorted. And next to the glasses lay a bracelet, the number 9 still displayed on his face. Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only 2 ways to do so. 1. You escape from the ship. 2. Your heart rate reaches 0. In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, or detects us where his heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically. Suddenly, Junpei felt his stomach convulse, and a knot of muscle gripped his throat. He clapped his hands over his mouth and ran to the first-class cabin. The atmosphere changed immediately. The room was gorgeous, and despite the apparent age of the ship, none worse for the wear. He looked around. Seven and Snake were nowhere to be seen. There were 2 doors on the right side of the room. He opened one on his right and went through. On the other side of the door was a short hallway. He jogged down the hallway, opened the door at the other end, and peeked through. There they were, to his right, busy examining something. He stepped through the door and walked towards them. What's up? Check this out. We found this thing here on the door. The red light's on. Does that mean it's locked? So I would assume. Is there any way out? We looked around a little. Other than this door, we didn't find anything. So you're telling me that unless we can open this door... Yes, we won't be going anywhere. Junpei stepped away from the door and looked around the room. The room they were in looked like a bedroom. He figured the room he originally entered was the living room, or whatever passed for one on the ship. Alright, let's find a way to open this door. Come on, guys. I don't know why I give him such a derpy voice, but it works. Even though it's supposed to be deep, but whatever. Whew, we gotta find a way out. Okay. Let's look at this thing first and see what it is. So this is the locking thing. It's flashing red. That's usually not a good sign. Is that a microphone? It looks like a satellite dish. Let me see. Well, judging by the feel of it, I would guess that we are meant to produce some sort of sound. And this device will sense it and unlock. Okay. Interesting enough. A white desk. Feels kind of fancy. Okay, what's on the bed? Alright, we got a score here. Okay, cool. Search it. Let's see. This feels like glass. A rectangular plate of glass. Is there something written on the surface? Yeah. It's a sheet of music with a couple of notes. Just A's? Oh, a couple of A notes. Yeah, that's it. Kinda weird, huh? Nope, I get it. It took Junpei by surprise. Snake, usually so calm and collected, suddenly began to move. He stared about the room for almost frantically, clearly looking for something. No, Junpei thought, not staring. After all, he's blind. Blind or not, Snake was clearly attempting to do something. At last, Junpei could no longer contain his curiosity. What are you doing? Snake waited a moment before answering. I heard something strange. Something strange? Well, never mind. It doesn't seem to be anything suspicious. I don't wish to toot my own horn, but my auditory senses are considerably more advanced than those of most humans. I notice even the slightest of noises. Right. Are you gonna tell me you can hear a needle drop from a mile away? No. Such a thing would be impossible. However, by listening to the sound of footsteps and breathing, as well as the sound echoing off the environment, I can locate most objects. Oh yeah, that's right. When Clover fell on the big staircase a little while ago, you were at her side. Immediately. So that was... Yes. I could hear it happening. In fact, I can run quite fast. Certainly as fast as you. And should someone attempt to start a fight with me, I am quite confident that I could defeat them. Junpei was somewhat taken aback by this revelation. He stared at Snake, skeptical. You don't believe me, do you? Care to give me a try? I must warn you, you'll no doubt regret it. Well, I suppose that's enough playing around. Let's resume our search, shall we? With a small, self-satisfied smile, Snake turned and walked away from Junpei. Alright, so we need more music sheets. Totally a table with a mirror. Ah, yes. You know that sort of thing is known as a vanity. Were you aware of that, Junpei? Of course, vanity also refers to self-love, conceit, and narcissism. As such, you could say that every day when a woman looks into one of these, she is staring at her own conceit and narcissism. Doesn't this strike you as terribly sad? What's this? This isn't a score. This is the map of the ship. A map? There's a map of the ship here? Yeah. Then I imagine it will prove very helpful. You'd best hold on to it, Junpei. Okay. It is not possible to use the map screen. Yay! Oh, now you're gonna explain it. It can only be viewed during story sections. It's entirely different function from the bird's eye view mode. While on the map screen, you can examine a map of the ship's floor plan, which you will acquire over the course of the story. Okay, got it. If you touch yes. Actually, right now I'm not using a controller, it's just the mouse. Hopefully you guys can't see it. I have a setting on here so that it won't capture the mouse cursor. I'm hoping it works, but then I realized while I was filming that you might hear the mouse clicking. So I don't know if I'm gonna do it this way or not. I may switch back to the controller in the next episode. Sorry, still trying to get a feel of things and figure out what works best. Because I've never done this with like the DS game on here. Touching the green parts, okay, yep, got it. Anyways, let's continue on. Okay, so I got 2 doors here. What's that? It's a light switch. Nothing happens when I press it, okay? What we got here? Some sort of antique desk. Makes sense though, I guess. This whole room's full of antiques. You could get a nice handful of cash for all the stuff in here. Somebody spent a lot of time carving the legs of this chair. It'll snap like a twig if Seven sits on it though. Mind your own business. Oh, file folder. Have a piece of paper that's folded in half. It has score printed on the front of it. Score? That's gotta mean musical score. If that's true, then the score we just found is probably in here. At least, at some point. There's a cover for a musical score sitting on the table. Okay, what about this chair? It's a chair. Thanks! Thank you so much. There's a couple lights on the wall here. Okay. Oh, there's one in there too. Huh? There's something in the back. Let's see if I could reach it. Just a little... Oh, that's hot! You aren't real smart, are you? Come on. Of course it's gonna be hot. It's a fire. Even a monkey knows it shouldn't stick its hand in the fire. Well, maybe I'm not as good as a monkey, okay? Just leave me alone. Let me do my monkey thing. Hey, Junpei, where are you going? Didn't we come out of that door? No point going back there. All that's out there is a locked numbered door and a dead body. Or what's left of it. Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to go that way. This way? Oh, hang on. I think I remember this vase. I get it. You're gonna use this vase, right? It's pretty clever, Junpei. We just gotta fill this thing with water. Yeah, okay, cool. I was like, I remember some parts of this game. So what's in here? Ooh. Got another score. Score for the scores. A suitcase made of leather and the color soft mahogany. Well, shoot. Looks like there's nothing in it. What about this bottom one? Dang, nothing in there. Okay, so nothing here. So let's go through here. Oh god, there's so many doors. Sweet! Yes! Bathtub's full of gross, cloudy water. Hey Junpei, we just found that blue vase, right? You think maybe we could use it for something? Oh, I don't know. Maybe? Alright, shouldn't be too hard to fill this vase up. Go back. Can I pull the plug? Why don't we just drain this water? Yeah, good plan. Alright. Where's that thing? A good tug ought to be enough to get it out. Huh? Ha. Alrighty then. Now we're cooking with fire. Well, not yet. We're gonna have to play with the fire first. Well, the sink's clean. Any water? Nothing's coming out. We've got the faucet all the way on, but I can't hear anything. Lights, huh? Nope, doesn't look like there's anything hidden there. Okay, cool. So back here... Oh, this toilet. There's some toilet paper on the wall there. Nothing that looks suspicious. It's a toilet. Doesn't seem to be anything in the toilet or tank. Oh, so there's nothing in the tank either? Alright. Stop clicking on it then, me. Good lord. Yeah, I need the vase filled with water. Junpei, look, there's a hand coming out of the toilet. Just a joke there, kid. Not funny, man. I'm too old for this. Inconsistency is a problem. Incontinence is a problem many older men struggle with, but there's help. Okay, anyways, let's get out of there. That's the bathroom. I don't need to go to the bathroom. Is it back this way? Oh. Oh my god, I'm getting myself turned around. Okay, this door. Yes. Nope, this is something oh my god, there's so many music sheets though. Can we combine these? No? Okay, whatever. What else we got? The safe is locked. It's one of those doll locks. It doesn't have a key. We just need to get the dolls in the right place and it'll open. You find anything, Seven? That was Junpei. Whoops! Nope. How about you, Snake? I also found nothing. Alright. Leather suitcase. There's nothing inside. I can tell by the weight, and it makes no noise when shaken. So leather suitcase. Unfortunately, there's nothing inside. Alrighty then. So this door here. Turn. Fireplace. Water. Alright, time to put this fire out. About time, buddy. Let's do it. Here we go. Haha, good job. Another success. That fire didn't stand a chance. Alright, I'll just pull this out now. Don't want to get burned, so let's pull down the sleeves. Ceramic plate of some kind. Looks like a blank of sheet music. Okay. No? Well, as Junpei tucked the plate into his pocket, Seven cried out and stumbled, his balance lost. He threw out a hand and caught the wall in time to steady himself and avoid the floor, but his face was flushed, and he looked startled. Hey, Seven, what the hell was that? Are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. I just felt a little dizzy, that's all. Seven rubbed a couple of fingers across his brow and shook his head, as if to clear it. What the hell's wrong with me? First memory loss? Now I'm getting dizzy for some reason? Memory? Loss? Junpei couldn't hide the surprise in his voice. Seven, for his part, seemed unconcerned. Right, I guess I haven't told you, have I? Told the rest of them, but that must have been before you showed up. Well, the long and short of it is that I don't remember jack from before I woke up here. I didn't realize I hadn't told you. Whoa, wait a minute. You're talking about amnesia, right? Yeah, I guess so. Well, you're an amnesiac. What happened to you? If I knew that, I wouldn't really be one, would I? Oh, I guess that's true. Junpei paused for a moment and stared at Seven. Are you telling the truth? Huh? Well, you look pretty calm for somebody who doesn't remember anything. If you've really got amnesia, shouldn't you be like sad or confused or something? Well, sure, I mean, I was pretty confused when I woke up down on D-Deck. But that was a while ago. I've had some time to get used to it. After a while, I figured it wasn't worth the trouble of worrying about it. After all, why worry about something I can't change? Well, people usually don't stay amnesiacs forever. I'll figure it works itself out eventually. That's it? That's it? Alright, that's enough talking for now. Let's get back to work. Seven gave Junpei a look of the younger man, a look the younger man wasn't sure how to interpret, and turned to walk away. Somehow though, Junpei didn't find his reassurances very reassuring. Alright, so let's go back. Oh yeah, sorry, wrong way. You don't want to go out there. Okay, sure. Totally understand. This room. And here. Music stand. Seems it's a good place to put this music we found. Just gotta put the ceramic plate on the bottom. And then stack the glass plates on top of it. Alright? Good. Sweet. Now I can play the music. Junpei, would you be so kind as to play the piano? I am unable to. You see. I'm sure I needn't tell you, but the keys on this piano are not what you might expect them to be. C won't be C, D won't be D, and so forth. You must listen carefully to determine which keys to strike. Do you understand? Yeah. Alright, let's give it a shot. I don't know how to play music. Huh? Crap. Oh, are you serious? Okay. Oh my god. I might have to write these down. There we go. Whew. It's like the school bell chime. Ugh. And we're done. Music's not my forte. Wait, what was that noise? Junpei, we did it. Looks like it worked. I heard something unlock over by the exit. Let's go. Good plan. Stand, bow, be seated. Well, I guess he hasn't forgotten that. At least Snake thinks it's funny. Yes, I suppose that was a classroom bell, wasn't it? I don't imagine that's what Zero was thinking of, however. No. Zero almost certainly meant to suggest Westminster, not middle school. Westminster? The palace in London that plays host these days to the Houses of Parliament. You've heard of Big Ben, the famous clock tower, yes? Big Ben plays that very collection of notes on the hour. London. Capital of England, huh? At any rate, the door is now unlocked. Let's leave this place immediately. Alright, I guess we're out of here. Alright, let's go. We did it! Awesome. Yeah, I just had to write down the order of it when I was doing it to figure it out, but it wasn't too bad. It's the same 4 notes in different orders, so I was okay. I figured it out. He came out of the door and into a long, straight hallway. He paused for a moment and turned around to look behind him. 7 was bent over, apparently doing something to the door. What's he up to? Junpei had spoke more or less to himself, but apparently 7 had heard anyway. The larger man stood up and turned to Junpei. I was just putting one of those plates in there. It ought to keep the door from locking again. Now we can come back here anytime we want, right? Ah, why would you want to come back here? Snake was a reasonable one. 7 thought about it for a moment before he answered. I might like to play a little piano. Piano? Come on, let's get moving. We aren't out of this yet. Without waiting for an answer, 7 started off down the hallway. Snake shrugged, sighed, and quietly followed 7. That's a lie, Junpei thought to himself. He had difficulty enough believing 7 could play the piano. But even if he could, the piano they just left was largely useless. The keyboard was completely scrambled. If 7 wanted to come back, it was unlikely he intended to do so in order to play the piano. But if that was the case, why would he want to leave the door unlocked? Junpei frowned, took one last look at the door, and walked away toward his companions. After some time in the hallway, they emerged into a larger, more open area. A large, metal grate, like a door of a jail, divided it in half. They shook it for a while, but as they had expected, it did not move. Behind the grate were 2 elevators. From so far away, however, it was difficult to tell if they were still operating. On the left side of the grate was a door, Unfortunately, however, it was locked and refused to open. Junpei took a moment to examine the left side of the room. Next to the wall was a set of stairs, leading downward. Standing guard at the top of the stairway was a large iron gate. Foreboding as it was, the gate seemed to be the sort that could be opened, unlike the metal grate that bisected the room. With luck, Junpei hoped he might be able to get it open. The female symbol? He wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Snake, naturally, was somewhat more sure. Ah, the Venus symbol, I imagine. Do you recall the similar symbols near the large central stairway? They reference many of the solar bodies. Sun, Saturn, Earth. So, as you can see, that one is likely not a woman's symbol, but a Venus symbol. So I assume. While they had been discussing the symbols, Junpei now realized Seven had slipped away. His absence now felt, Snake and Junpei turned back to look for their missing companion. There. Seven had left them to head down the hallway extending to the right of the stairs. Junpei grabbed Snake to lead him in the right direction, and they both headed off after Seven. Before long, the three of them stood in front of a door. It was a French door. Junpei tested the door and realized, unlike so many others that they'd encountered, it was unlocked. Almost as though he was afraid it would suddenly lock itself, Junpei threw the door open. He stepped inside. It took only a moment for Junpei to take in his new surroundings. Is this some kind of casino? Sure looks like one. Before Junpei could comment further, a noise from behind him made him turn around. Snake was shaking the door they'd just come through. As Seven and Junpei watched, he threw up his hands in frustration, and then kicked the door for good measure. It looked as though they were once again locked in. There was no reason to panic, however. Even if the door had been left open, there was nowhere for them to go back there. They would have to find another way out. Alright guys, let's split up and search this room. Come on, no dwelling, let's go. Quickly now. Spurred to action by Seven's words, Junpei and Snake began to examine the room. Ugh. Gotta find another way out? Jeez. Okay, you know what? I'm actually gonna leave this episode right here because that's a good place to stop it. I don't want to make it too long. I may or may not be able to get through the entire sequence in one episode, but at least if I stop it here, we can explore it and see everything and then continue onward into the story. So I'm sorry if this one's a little bit shorter, still getting used to the hour-long videos once again after such a break in them, but it's okay, we're gonna do it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this game. I'm having a ton of fun revisiting this game. There's a lot of stuff that I remember, but there's a ton of stuff that I don't either. So I'm trying to remember the best I can to get through these puzzles as quickly as possible, but please forgive me if I stumble around a little bit. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next time. AMJ. Junpei turned and found himself face to mask with a man dressed in black. The man wore a deep hood and bulky gas mask. His face was entirely hidden. Junpei tried to scream, but all he could manage was a strangled throat. He tried to step toward the man, but his legs could no longer support his weight. Junpei collapsed to the floor, a crumpled heap of rings, like a discarded puppet. Too late, he noticed the white smoke that was quickly filling